Okay, well, welcome to another Math Minute with Mr. Thomas. We're going to talk about scatter plots. So some of you are getting those scatter plots and having a little trouble with those. Really where to start. So let's say here that we already have our scatter plot all made up. We found that our best fit line or trend line goes through these two coordinates that I labeled. Okay, so we know it's 8, 12, and 2, 2. Now technically this would be point 2 and this would be point 1, just because left to right this one appears first and this one appears second. So now that we have the point, we have the idea that we need to go down into. From the video you should have picked up that we need y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now with that we know we need a point and we need a slope. Well, we need x1, y1, which is provided by point 1. So we have that information. So the next thing we need is slope. So we need to go back to the idea that what we need is m is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's what we need to go through, which those 2 points are provided. So all we have to do is go up here. There's y2. So we take our 12. We subtract y1, which was 2. We take x2, which was 8, so 0.2. That's what the sub 2 means, is that's the x-coordinate of the 0.2. And then x1, which is 0.1, the x-coordinate, which is 2 as well. Now when we take that, 12 minus 2, you get 10. When we take 8 minus 2, we get 6. And I know, hey, those are all divisible by 2's. So that gives me 5/3 as my slope. So 5/3, and it's fine to leave it 5/3. Okay, we're using improper, that's okay. So we're able to take that down. We have the slope now. So with that being said, we can go over here and replace m with the slope. Now we still have x, and over here we still have y. So now we just got to fill in y1 and x1, which again comes from here. So this one's kind of easy. They're both 2's, so we fill those in 2's. Now if one of those would have been negative, you have to keep in mind that this would become plus. So it would have been x minus a negative 2, which make it x plus. And really from here, here's your equation, but a lot of times we're going to ask you to write it in slope-intercept, which means we want it down into mx plus b, which essentially says we got to get rid of this 2 and simplify this part right here. So we just distribute the 5/3 and we get 5/3 x minus, and 2 times 5/3 is 10/3, and we have y minus 2 equals that. So a simple addition of 2, which is the same thing as 2 is equivalent to, with a 3 on the bottom, 6/3. So really what's happening here is we're taking a negative 10/3 and adding this 6/3. Okay, so we're just doing that math right there. So we have y equals 5/3 stays the same, but we just have to combine this. So if I have negative 10, I gain 6, I still have a negative 4/3 left over. So here's my best fit line. Now from there we can make predictions. So if this was a population, maybe a population growth in years, we could go through and say, well, what happens in year 10? Well, we would plug that in right in that problem. So we would say 10 times 5, we would get 50/3 minus 4/3, and we could state what the population is going to be. So in this case it would be like 46/3, and obviously that's going to be a whole number, and that's how many population we would have. Okay, that's just throwing out a scenario. Now that's not necessarily a population scenario. This is just kind of a chart that I made up. So a lot of times we're just looking for the equation. But then if it asks you to predict one, we would throw that in there. So like I just threw in 10 for x and solve for y. Okay, so really scatter plots, you just need to find 2 points that lie on the line or really close to that line, and pick those 2 points. Establish what your slope is, plug in that slope, and then plug in your first point that you had and break that down into slope-intercept form. And that's it. Okay. So again, hopefully this helps. Let me know if you have any other questions or if you need to see any other problems. I'll put those up.